September 16th, 1920, somewhere on the Atlantic Ocean. Dear Tova, the ship is excellent. I have a little room with a bed bolted to the floor and a table that folds out. A small round window looks out over the sea. But who wants to stay shut up in a cabin when there is so much to do? Such a lounge there is, with a player piano and polished wooden counters. The lounge reminds me of your salon back in Berdichev, only much larger. There are dances at night, and the passengers whirl about on the parquet floor. During the day, a young sailor named Peter puts brushes on his feet, and he dances all alone, polishing and waxing. As he works, he sings and tells jokes to me. Out on the deck are chairs for days of reading. They are bolted down like my bed, so they won't shift in heavy seas. Of course, we've had nothing like heavy seas since we boarded, just clear skies and a gentle breeze. Sometimes, Peter says, there are storms so fierce I think the ship will break apart. Peter is such a joker. I am never certain whether to believe him or not. We trade songs, and Peter teaches me little dances when he is not on watch. He is like another brother to me, only he is much better somehow than a brother, though he teases every bit as much as Saul does. But it doesn't annoy me when Peter teases. I like it. If I sit down in one of these chairs with our pushkin, Peter rushes over and tucks a blanket around my legs. Is there anything I can do for you, Miss Rifka? He asks. He treats me like a little Sarzina. Me, Rifka Nebro. Sometimes I pinch myself. Only in Hannah's games did I feel so special. How Hannah would love this. Tova, you would too. The ocean is so big. Everywhere you look in every direction swells this dark, billowing water. It rises and falls as if it were breathing, and the ship skates over the surface. I worried that perhaps I would feel seasick. I heard so many stories, and some others on the ship complain, but I do not feel the least bit ill. I feel healthier than I ever have in my entire life, even if I don't have any hair on my head. Today I had the most interesting conversation with Peter. He had a few minutes before he went on duty, and we walked around the deck talking. He told me he had 9 brothers. No sisters? I asked. No, he said. Mama kept looking for a girl, but we kept coming out boys. I told him about Isaac and Asher and Reuben and Nathan and Saul. And then there is me, I said. All those sons and then a daughter, Peter said. You are a treasure to your mama and papa and to your brothers. I've never met my brothers Isaac and Asher and Reuben, I told Peter. They left for America before I was born, so I don't know if I am a treasure to them. But I assure you, I am no treasure to my brother Saul. To Nathan maybe, but not to Saul. Can you imagine, Tova? Me, a treasure. I told Peter, really, I don't believe anyone in my family thinks of me as a treasure. Peter said, if this is true, then your family is blind. I lowered my eyes for modesty's sake, but I couldn't help the smile that tugged at my lips, Tova. Peter said, you are such a brave girl, Rifka, and so clever to have managed on your own. I had told him about our escape from Berdichev and about the typhus and how Mama and Papa had to leave me behind. I would not be so clever, Peter said. To learn so many languages? You speak Flemish better than I do, and I have lived in Belgium all 17 years of my life. Again with the languages, Tova. Why do people always make such a to-do? Peter, I said, you are full of nice words, but I am not certain I deserve them. You call me brave, but I will tell you what is brave. My Aunt Anna is brave, and my little grandmother. They are brave to stay in Russia and live with the hatred for the Jews. They are clever too, so much more clever. In Berdichev, you must be clever simply to stay alive. For me, since I've left Berdichev, life has been easy, except that I have been apart from Mama and Papa. I have met with such kindness. No, I am not so brave, Peter. If I were brave, I would have stayed in Russia. Maybe, Peter said, maybe they are very brave, the ones you have left behind in your homeland. But are they clever? My cousin Tova is very clever, I told Peter. She has chosen to stay. I'm a simple boy, Peter said. I can't learn the speech of other countries the way you can. I only travel back and forth across this big ocean. I do not know much. But to me, Rifka, you seem very brave and very clever indeed. Then Peter bent over and kissed me, right on my lips, Tova, a warm kiss, with the soft blonde hairs of his mustache tickling me. Just for a moment, I hoped the ship would never arrive in America, and I could go on sailing with Peter across this wide green ocean forever. But when I looked up, Peter's face was red. I have work to do, he said, stammering. He hurried away, leaving me standing on the deck. I don't understand. What did I do that Peter should run away? How clever can I be, Tova? The more I know, the more confused I get. I returned to my cabin and opened our Pushkin. I tried to find a poem that said what I was feeling. Sometimes when I read Pushkin's poems, I want to write poems of my own. I wonder if I dare to do such a thing. Saul always said I talked and talked without anything to say. But sometimes I do have something to say, and I feel as if I will explode if I don't write down what is in my head and in my heart. Soon I will be in New York City, America. Soon I will be with Mama and Papa and all my giant brothers, Nathan and Saul and Isaac and Asher and Reuben, brothers I don't even know. In America, maybe, I will write poems. Shalom, my cousin, Rifka. September 21st, 1920, Atlantic Ocean. Dear Tova, I have lost so much already, and now it seems I must lose more. I nearly drowned at sea in a horrible storm, but I am alive. Everyone did not have my luck, but I am alive. Our ship, which seemed so large and safe when first I boarded, barely survived the fury of this storm. The tempest started during the night while we slept. I had dreams of pilgrims and of Cossacks on their horses, snapping whips at me, pointing rifles. I heard the crack of gunshot. In my dream, the countryside was burning. I trembled in your cellar while the fire raged around me. I woke from one terror into another. I had been thrown to the floor of my cabin, tossed from my bed by the rising seas. Quickly I pulled on my clothes, trying my kerchief with trembling fingers. I opened my cabin door. Though it was still night, the sky was a sickly yellow, like an old bruise. I bashed against the ship's walls, flung back and forth by the tossing the sea as I made my way toward the deck. The ship shivered in the hateful ocean. Twice the floor dropped beneath me suddenly, and I fell. There was so much confusion on deck, no rain yet, but a wind that roared. The seas, which had seemed so gentle yesterday, rose like hungry beasts, mouths open, hovering and crashing over the sides of the ship. Sailors ran like spiders, back and forth in the yellow light. They yelled to each other over the wind, shouting directions. Peter, my Peter, clung to a pillar as a wave broke over his shoulders. All the horrors of Russia returned to me. The storm frightened me as much as any pogrom, when the peasants would come after the Jews to burn our homes, to break into our stores, to murder us. My stomach twisted, and I knew I would be sick, so I crawled, making my way with difficulty toward the side of the ship. The ship rolled. My stomach rolled with it. I clung to the rail, trying to raise up off my knees so I would not soil myself with my own sickness. The ship plummeted from beneath me, and I hit my head on the metal rail. Someone came up behind me and wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. Peter, I cried. I didn't realize the waves had drenched me. Come, Rifka, Peter yelled over the wind. You must come away from the side. I started shivering. I could taste blood in my mouth and smell it in my nose. It had a cold metallic taste that made my stomach twist inside out. I tore away from Peter's grip and ran back to the rail, emptying my stomach over the side. Before I could finish, water, a wall of water, rose up over me. Peter grabbed me around the waist and hurled me away from the side. The water came crashing down over our heads, slamming us onto the deck. Peter held on to me as the water sucked up my body, trying to pull me overboard. If he had not been there, Tova, the ocean would have claimed me. He saved my life. Peter held me until the wave lost its power and slipped away. Then he lifted me to my feet again before another monstrous wave could attack us. Come, he cried, guiding me toward a hatch. Quickly, you must stay down in the hold while the storm lasts, Peter shouted over the violent wind. I descended into the ship's hold, looking up at once at my friend. His hair lay plastered against his head, and water streamed from his storm clothes. Peter, I called, are you putting me in steerage? Peter laughed. Brave and clever, he called down to me. The wind screamed around him. Be careful, Peter, I cried. I will, Rifka, he answered. I could hear the fear under the calm of his voice. It echoed in my ears as I stumbled down the ship's steep steps. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, I found many of the other passengers already in the hold, huddled together. We were still equal. We were equally miserable, equally frightened for our lives. Everyone got sick, even me. It stank worse than a flood of soured milk down there. Women rocked back and forth weeping. Men held their stomachs and moaned. All the time I worried for Peter and the others. I doubted, Tova, that I would live to see my family again. If I'd had the Pushkin, I could have read from it. I could have opened it to the pages that held my golden Star of David, woven from broom straws, and prayed for our lives on it. But the pushkin remained above, in my cabin, and I could not go after it. We shivered and sweated and retched for 36 hours until the ship stopped its pitching. At last the hatch was open and we climbed up out of our hole. There was no more deck left to the ship. Everything once bolted down had been ripped away. The player piano had crashed against a wall and shattered into pieces. Most of the deck chairs were gone too, torn right out of the floor, twisted metal and bolts stuck up as signs of where the chairs had been. The parquet tiles, what remained of them, were thick with filth from the sea. A sailor lay on the deck, wrapped in gauze from head to toe, moaning. My heart jumped into my throat. What if it's Peter, I thought. Oh, Tova, if only I'd known. I ran to the sailor's side, but it wasn't Peter. I asked if there was something I could do for him anyway. He didn't answer. Other sailors were limping or bandaged. I looked for Peter everywhere, but I couldn't find him. Finally, I stopped one of the officers. Have you seen the boy, Peter? I asked. Please, I know you are busy, but could you tell me where I might find him? The officer looked down at me. He steadied my shoulders in his hands the way Papa had the night he told me of Uncle Zeb's death. We lost one sailor overboard in the storm, he said. Peter? I whispered. The officer nodded. Tova, I felt myself smothering. I couldn't see anything, hear anything. Somehow I found my way back to my cabin, and for the first time since leaving Berdichev, I cried. All the tears that had collected in this year, in this enormous year, shoved their way out of my heart, and how I cried. Peter, who said I was so brave, what would he say to see me now? I didn't care. I cried for Peter. I cried for myself. I couldn't stop. I didn't want to stop. I cried until I was empty of tears. Then I was still as the sea after a storm. I sit in my cabin and wait. Our ship has sent out a distress call. It cannot move any more on its own steam. The drum of the engines had been like a heartbeat. Now the heart has stopped. The engines are dead. We must wait for another ship to answer our signal and tow us across the ocean to America. I pray there are no more storms between now and then. We could never survive another fight with the sea. Tova, suddenly I feel how defenseless we are. Not just Jews, all of us. My mind fills with images of you and Aunt Anna and Bubba Ruth and Mama and Papa. I see Bubba Ruth at the rear of the long house, huddled beside her little stove, sipping tea from the samovar. I see Papa and Mama swallowed up by a strange country called America. I see you, Tova, staring out the window at the empty road, the road that has carried me away from you. I realize how precious our lives are, and how brief. I want to come home. The telegram the HIAS sent from Antwerp to Mama and Papa said I would be arriving in America today. Today I sit in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean on a ship that is dead. What will happen when Papa and Mama come to get me and I'm not there? How will they know when to come back? Will I ever see them again? I'm too tired, Tova, too tired for all this trouble. At this moment, I wish I had never left Berdichev. Shalom, my Tova, Rifka. October 1st, 1920, entering New York Harbor. Dear Tova, today we will arrive at Ellis Island. Today I will see Mama and smell her yeasty smell. Today I will feel the tickle of Papa's dark beard against my cheeks and see my brother Nathan's dimpled smile and Saul's wild curly hair. Today I will meet my brothers Asher and Isaac and Reuben. Already I am wearing my best hat, the black velvet with the shirring and the brim of light blue. I'm hoping that with the hat, Mama will not mind my baldness. I've tucked Papa's tallis into my rucksack, but Mama's gold locket hangs around my neck. The captain said his company notified our families and they are awaiting our arrival. I must pass a screening on the island before I can go home with Mama and Papa. Papa wrote about Ellis Island in his letters. He wrote that at Ellis Island you are neither in nor out of America. Ellis Island is a line separating my future from my past. Until I cross that line, I am still homeless, still an immigrant. Once I leave Ellis Island, though, I will truly be in America. Papa said in his letter that they ask many questions at Ellis Island. I must take my time and answer correctly. What's to worry? I am good at answering questions. Even if they ask me 1,000 questions, I will have Mama and Papa near me. My Mama and Papa. Just 1 week ago, I did not think I would ever make it to America. We drifted on the sea for days, helpless, waiting for the ship to come and tow us. I assisted with the cleanup as best I could, doing work Peter would have done if he were there. Then, once the tow ship arrived, it took so long between the securing of the ropes and the exchanges between the two ships, I thought we would never begin moving. At last, when we did, the other ship pulled us so slowly, I could swim faster to America. In Russia, all America meant to me was excitement, adventure. Now, coming to America means so much more. It is not simply a place you go when you run away. America is a place to begin anew. In America, I think, life is as good as a clever girl can make it. Very soon, Tova, I will be in this America. I hope someday you will come too. Shalom, my cousin, Rifka. P.S. As I was finishing this letter, a cry went up from the deck. When I went out to see what it was, I found all the passengers gathered on one side of the ship, looking up. They were looking at Miss Liberty, Tova, a great statue of a woman standing in the middle of the harbor. She was lifting a lamp to light the way for us. October 2nd, 1920, Ellis Island. Dear Tova, I don't know how to tell about what has happened. I feel numb and I can't believe. I thought if I could tell you, maybe it would make some sense. Maybe it would help. They are holding me, detaining me on Ellis Island at the Hospital for Contagious Diseases. They won't let me go to Mama and Papa. They won't even let me see them. Tova, I can't go to America. After we landed, I sat on a bench in an enormous room with hundreds of others waiting to hear my name called. I waited a long time. I just wanted to see Mama and Papa. I kept looking around for them, for Mama's black hair, for Papa's beard, but they weren't there. There were others with thick beards, with dark hair, but they weren't my Mama and Papa. Certainly I would know my own Mama and Papa. Finally, a man called my name. I couldn't understand what he said to me. I felt nervous, and he spoke English so fast, much faster than the lady from the HIAS. Someone found an interpreter for me. I answered their questions. I read from a book to prove I am not a simpleton, but they kept delaying my approval. The doctor examined me. He took off my hat, my beautiful hat. I didn't like his taking off my hat any more than I liked the Russian guard touching my hair or the Polish doctor examining me at the border. But just as then, I had no choice. The first doctor called over another doctor. They spoke fast. They looked at my scalp. They shook their heads. Then they called for a tall man with glasses. The nosepiece was dull with the mark of his thumbprint, so often did he shove the gold rims up on his thin nose. "What is it?" I asked, pulling on the doctor's sleeves, but they didn't answer. The first doctor put a chalk mark on my shoulder and pointed me in the direction of a cage holding the detainees. Detainees are immigrants who are not welcome in America. They remain on the island until the authorities decide what to do with them. People like criminals and simpletons are detainees. I didn't belong with them. I could not belong with them. "Why are you holding me?" I cried in Yiddish. "Why have you put me with these people? I don't belong here. I belong in America. I have come to America." A lady from the HIAS came over. She, too, was short, like the HIS lady in Antwerp and the HIAS lady in Warsaw. But this one had a red bun on the top of her head. "Pshaw," she said, "don't make such a fuss. If you calm down, I will help you." She spoke with the doctor. She spoke with the man who wore the gold-rimmed glasses. I saw her face grow less and less hopeful. When she walked back to me, I could tell it was not good news. She explained to me in Yiddish what the doctors had said. "You must be kept in the hospital for contagious diseases. It's because of the ringworm you suffered from in Europe." "They cured my ringworm," I cried. "Mr. Fargut, the tall man with the glasses, says he must be certain the ringworm is gone before you can enter the country," the lady from the HIAS said. "Perhaps it will only take a day or two." "A day or two? I must go to Mama and Papa now. My papers say the ringworm is cured," I cried. "Why don't they believe my papers? Why must I wait?" "It's not just the ringworm that concerns them," said the lady from the HIAS. "It's your hair." She stroked my cheek with the back of her hand. She had a brown wart on her chin, with red hairs growing out of it. I pulled back from her. "My hair?" I asked. I tugged at the black velvet hat, pulling it down until it nearly covered my ears. "The doctors worry about your hair." "Why should they worry over such a thing as my hair?" I asked. "To them, it is important," the HIAS lady said. "Even though your ringworm may be gone, if your hair does not grow back, Rifka, the American government will have to view you as a social responsibility." "What does this mean, social responsibility?" I asked. "It means the American government is afraid they will have to support you for the rest of your life," the lady from the HIAS said. Your lack of hair makes you an undesirable immigrant. They think without hair you will never find a husband to take care of you, and so they will have to take care of you instead." I couldn't believe what she was saying. "Some Jewish women shave their heads on purpose," I said. "It is written into the Jewish law. To be bald is not a sin." The HIAS lady sighed. "You mean the country will not let me in simply because they are afraid when I grow up, no one will want to marry me." That is right. "You don't need hair to be a good wife, do you?" I asked. "Jewish women wear wigs all the time. I could wear a wig and still be a good wife." "You're a child," the lady from the HIAS said. "It is not that simple." "It is that simple," I said. She said, "I can't change the rules, Rifka. Either your hair grows or they will send you back." There it was. What chance did I have of my hair growing now? It had not grown in almost a year. "Tova, I think maybe you were wrong after all. You said a girl must not depend on her looks, that it is better to be clever. But in America, looks are more important. And if it is my looks I must rely on, I am to be sent back. How can this be? Shalom, Rifka." October 7th, 1920, Ellis Island. Dear Tova, I have been here a week now. It is not so bad a place, really. I am growing used to it. Crowds of people overfill the wards. When they first brought me here, they gave me a choice. I could sleep in a bed with another woman or by myself in a crib. I said, "I'll take the crib." My feet stuck out one end, but it was better than sleeping with someone I didn't know, someone who had a disease I didn't want. Sometimes it is convenient I am small. There are so many of us here in the hospital. After 2 days, I was transferred from one ward to another. In the new ward, I got my own bed. Saul came to visit, but they sent him to the first ward and he couldn't find me. No one could find me, so they sent Saul away. Saul would have been the first familiar face in almost a year. I didn't care that it was just Saul. I would love to have seen Saul, but they sent him away. When they did find me, they put me in still another ward. Here a nurse has taken an interest in me. Her name is Nurse Bowen. Sometimes she takes me to her room in a building on a different part of Ellis Island. We go in a little boat to get there. I help her clean her apartment. Mostly, though, I eat candy when I am there. She always has candy. It is not as good as Belgian chocolate, but still it tastes very good. I like going with her. I make better sense of English now. I listen to the nurses and the doctors, following them on their rounds of the wards. I have been able even to interpret a little for the Polish and Russian patients. Only simple things, but the nurses and the doctors seem pleased to have me help them. There is a little Polish baby here. She has no one. Her mama died of the typhus. Because I've already had the disease, I help take care of her. She is such a beautiful little thing, with dark eyes taking up half her face and a bald head, as bald as mine. She never fusses. I hold her and rock her and sing her Yiddish lullabies. I tell her stories and recite Pushkin to her. She reminds me a little of the baby on the train in Poland. I have another responsibility. In the dining hall one night, a little boy sat across from me at the table. I couldn't tell what was wrong with him, why they were keeping him in the hospital, except that he was very thin and pale, with dark circles under his eyes. I looked in those eyes and remembered someone, but I was too hungry to give it much thought. They've served the food. It's not bad food, and there was so much of it. Hands went every which way, passing, dishing out, spooning in, but the little boy sat, watching it all go past him. I helped myself to potatoes and meat and carrots and bread. The boy stared at my plate, but he took nothing for himself. "What's the matter with you?" I asked in Yiddish. "Why don't you eat?" He didn't answer. "Eat," I said in English. Still no answer. "Take something to eat," I said in Russian. Now he looked up at me, straight into my eyes. "Russian you understand," I said, "but not Yiddish?" Then I knew. The boy was a peasant, a Russian peasant. Here, sitting before me, Tova, was the reason we had fled our homeland. He was the reason for my being alone for so long, separated from my family, the reason I had had typhus, the reason I had lost my hair, the reason Uncle Zeb was dead and all your lives were in danger. I had him sitting in front of me in the dining hall of the hospital at Ellis Island. I tried not to look at him. I did not want anything to do with him. But there he was, in front of me, a little Russian peasant. He stared at his pale hands, folded in front of him at his place. Then he looked back up at me with those eyes. I remembered then. He looked like a small version of the soldier at the train station, the one with the eyes of green ice. I didn't want anything to do with him. Nothing. But no one should starve to death, Tova. Certainly not a little boy, maybe 7 years old. Is there something wrong with you that keeps you from eating? I asked in Russian. He shook his head. If you don't eat, I told him, they will send you back. He nodded. You want to go back? I asked. He nodded again, and this time tears filled his eyes. Well, just tell them you want to go back, I cried. If I go back, they will kill me. His father or his uncle, his cousin or his neighbor, they will make a pogrom, and they will kill me. Crazy Russian peasant. He could stay here. He could stay here in America. There is nothing wrong with him. He could live in either place, Russia, America, and no harm would come to him. But no, he is starving himself, so they will send him back. People were eating all around us. The boy sat at his empty plate, tears rolling down his cheeks. I hated him. I hated what he stood for. I also hated seeing him cry. He was just a little boy. What's your name? I asked. Ilya, he answered. His voice came out thin and high and frail. Ilya, I said, if you don't eat anything, you will grow so weak that when they do send you back, you will die before you reach home. You must eat a little. I stood up and looked for food to spoon onto his plate, but by now all the food bowls were empty. What could I do? He was just a little boy, a hungry, frightened little boy. I lifted my plate and slid some of my own food onto his dish. Now eat, I said, or I will be hungry for nothing. He put a little piece of carrot in his mouth and chewed. Then faster and faster he pushed the food in. Slow down, I said, you'll get sick. He finished everything on his plate, so I gave him a little more. Maybe it is not very clever to feel what I feel about this Russian peasant, this enemy of my people. But Tova, he was just a little hungry boy. Taking care of him made me feel better than I had felt in a very long time. Ever since then, I have a shadow. He follows me everywhere, holding onto my skirts. He sits by me when I rock the Polish baby, though I will not let him come too close. He follows me around the buildings. He sits under my elbow at mealtime. He is always under my feet. The nurses call me the little mother. I don't mind so much. What do you think about your cousin taking care of a little Russian peasant? You will probably think me the most foolish of all to befriend such a child. I know Mama will not be happy, not the way she feels about everything Russian. I must figure out a way to explain to her when she comes to visit. Oh, Tova, how I hope she comes to visit soon. Shalom, Rifka. October 9th, 1920, Ellis Island. Dear Tova, at last I have seen someone from the family. I had started believing they weren't really here, that something terrible had happened to them and no one would tell me. I thought the Americans had stolen them away and imprisoned them and I would never see them again. But Saul came. He skipped school and came to see me at the hospital. Mama and Papa and the others can't get away, he said in Yiddish. They must all work. I thought I'd come. Tova, when I saw him, he's so big, so handsome, I almost cried. But I wouldn't let Saul see me cry. He walked through the door and stood there looking around the ward for me. Saul! I called out. I ran to him and threw my arms around him. He backed me away and looked down at me. Rifka? What's the matter? I asked. You don't recognize your own sister? He swallowed. I saw the knob in his big neck go up and down. You look different, Saul said. I touched a kerchief covering my bald head. My hair, I said. It's been gone a long time. No, it's not that, he said. I don't remember your eyes being so big. I have the same eyes, Saul. I took my brother by the hand and led him into the ward. I was glad to have a bed of my own when Saul came. It would embarrass me if he should learn I slept in a crib. He would never let me forget that. Here, I brought something for you. Saul reached into his pocket and brought out a banana. His eyes twinkled with mischief. I took the banana and peeled it and started to bite into it. Then I remembered how he had shared with me in Matziv, and I offered him the first bite. He shook his head. The sparkle had gone from his eyes. He looked disappointed. What's the matter, Saul? I asked. How did you know to do that? Saul asked. How did you know to peel the banana? In Russia, we didn't see bananas. I laughed. Is that what's worrying you? There are lots of bananas in Antwerp, I told him, and chocolates and ice cream, too. Saul said. I guess you're not such a greenhorn. What's a greenhorn? I asked. It's when you come off the boat and you don't know what a banana is, Saul said. Well, I guess I'm not a greenhorn then. Saul was dressed like a dandy. He wore knickers and a stiff shirt. A cap sat cocked on his head. He was showing off in front of me. He wanted me to say something nice about his clothes. But he had hoped to make a fool of me with the banana. I didn't want him to know how handsome I thought he looked, my American brother. When Dr. Askin came by on his rounds, I spoke English, introducing the doctor to Saul. Dr. Askin said, "It's a pleasure to meet you, young man." Saul, my giant brother Saul, looked down at his big feet and said nothing. His ears turned red. "Saul," I said, kicking his shoe with my boot. Still Saul said nothing. "He is happy to meet you too, Dr. Askin," I said. "Are you not, Saul?" Saul nodded. Dr. Askin said goodbye and walked away. "Dr. Askin is my friend," I told Saul, still speaking in English. "Why did you not talk to him? He is a good man. He brings the comics here. We look at the pictures. I could read a little." "You read English too?" Saul asked. "A little," I said. "I am learning each day. Nurse Bowen helps. Dr. Askin helps too before he and Mr. Fargett talk about patients." "Your English," Saul said, "is very good. Where did you learn to speak this way, Rifka? You learned this in Antwerp too?" "Yes," I told him. "I learned much in Antwerp." Saul looked at me with his head tilted to one side. "My sister Rifka speaks like an American in 1 week?" "9 days," I said. "I've been here 9 days." "Smarty," he said. He lifted his hand to tussle my hair, something he used to do when I had blonde curls back in Russia. Saul pulled back his hand back before he touched the kerchief hiding my bald head. "What should I tell Mama about your hair?" he asked. "Tell her the truth," I said. "It's not growing. Why should it grow now? It hasn't grown in a year." Saul looked down at his feet. "So they will send you back?" I didn't know what to say. Saul looked so big and healthy and uncomfortable in the busy hospital ward. I smiled at him. "If I have to go back, Saul, I'm sure I can stay with Bubba Ruth or Uncle Avram and Tova and Hannah. It won't be so bad for me." Saul and I both knew the truth. We'd left Berdichev to save his life. Because of this, I might very well lose mine. Just then, Ilya appeared, wiggling his way under my arm. I introduced him to Saul in English. "This is my little friend," I said. "He also comes from Russia." Saul noticed the book of Pushkin that Ilya pulled out from under my pillow. Ilya likes when I read Pushkin to him, especially in the afternoon when things quiet down for a little while around the ward. "What have you got there?" Saul asked Ilya in Yiddish. Ilya did not answer. He looked frightened of Saul. Saul took the book from him. Ilya's eyes flashed with anger. "Ilya," I said in Russia, "this is my brother." Ilya looked from me to Saul, but he is a stubborn little boy. He tried to get the book back from Saul. Between the two pulling on it, Tova, the Pushkin dropped and fell open. My Star of David, the one I had woven from broom straws in Antwerp, bounced off the floor and broke apart. Ilya knew how precious the little straw star had been to me. Always he had handled it with such care. He looked into my face, blinked his green eyes, and then ran out of the ward. "He's a nasty little peasant," Saul said. "I don't believe you, Rifka. What are you doing with a peasant? And this book? Throw it away. It's a Russian book. And what is all this scribbling inside?" "Leave it alone, Saul," I said, grabbing the book and holding it tight to my chest. I was angry at him. He had broken my star. But I was angry at him for more than that. Inside, it felt like much more than that. "You can't tell me what I should throw away," I said. It hurt deep down in my heart, Tova, but at this moment I loved Ilya more than I loved my own brother. "This book, it's mine." Saul grabbed for the book again, but I stood my ground, squeezing the hard cover against my ribs. "You're different, Rifka," Saul said. "I am the same, Saul," I cried. "Still, my life has gone on while we've been apart. I am older in many ways since you left me in Warsaw." "You're still my little sister, though," Saul said. Saul's dark eyes burned with anger, but something else burned there, too. I remembered Peter and what he'd said about my being a treasure to my brothers. I put my hand on Saul's sleeve. "Yes, I am still your little sister. Let's not fight, Saul. I have been so lonely. You haven't even told me anything about Mama or Papa or Nathan and the others. Please stay and talk with me." Saul looked as if he was still angry, but he sat back down. My cot groaned under his weight. "Papa and Mama work all day at the clothing factory," Saul said. "When they come home at night, they bring bags of trousers to him. They work together until late. I help, but I can't stay awake so long to finish." Mama and Papa working so hard? They needed my help. Couldn't the Americans see how much my family needed me? "What about Nathan?" I asked. "Nathan has a job in a bakery. He leaves before light and comes home after dark, his clothes always covered with flour." "And you?" "I go to school," Saul said. "Papa says I must get an education. I'd rather be working, but Papa says no. If you were with us, Rifka, maybe he would let me work. Maybe it would be enough for you to go to school, but—" Saul didn't finish. None of us had any say about whether I could come to join my family and go to an American school. I wanted nothing more than that. But only Mr. Fargett could decide. Saul said, Isaac married a girl named Sadie. Sadie Chenowitz of the Berdichev Chenowitzes. What a small world, Tova. My oldest brother Isaac comes all the way from Russia, and who does he pick to marry but a landsman, a girl from our own village, a Chenowitz girl. She's very pretty, Saul said. He said Isaac and Sadie had a baby boy named Aaron. That makes me an aunt, I said, clapping my hands. Can you believe it? Me, Aunt Rifka. I wanted to hold my brother Isaac's baby right that instant. Did Mama ever get new candlesticks? I asked. Saul said they could not afford to buy candlesticks. He said everything they earned they sent to me in Belgium. My dear family, how much they had given up for me. What do you do on the Sabbath? I asked. We work on the Sabbath, Saul said. I couldn't believe my ears. Mama, Papa, working on the Sabbath? I opened my rucksack and took out my pouch of money. Where did you get all this, Rifka? Saul asked. I saved it, I said, from the money Papa sent. Papa sent that money for you to eat, Rifka. What did you eat? I ate, Saul, I said. I wasn't about to tell him what I ate. I want you to take this money, Saul, I said. I want you to take it and buy candlesticks for Mama. If there is any money left, tell Mama and Papa to use it so they do not have to work on the Sabbath. Do you hear me, Saul? Saul promised about the candlesticks. He apologized for breaking my star. Then he was gone. I had forgotten how lonely I'd been until he was gone. Tova, I have never seen my brother Isaac. He fled Russia before I was born. Now I wonder if I will see him, or his baby. Would they send me back, do you think, without ever holding my brother's baby? Shalom, Rifka. October 11th, 1920, Ellis Island. Dear Tova, Mama came today. My wonderful, beautiful Mama. She hugged me and kissed me, and I smelled onion on her and chicken and celery and yeast. I was so happy I thought my heart had broken open like an egg. Mama, I kept repeating, afraid I would blink and she would no longer be sitting beside me on my cot. Mama brought out a tiny honey cake. For your 13th birthday, she said in Yiddish. She watched me eat it, the whole thing, as we sat closer together on the edge of my bed. I licked each finger. It tasted as good as I remembered, Mama's honey cake. Tell me about Antwerp, Mama said. I told her about Sister Katrina and the lady from the HIAS and Giselle in the park. I told her about the awful storm at sea and how our ship needed towing to Ellis Island. What about your hair? Mama asked. Is it really so bad? Mama led me over to the window and took off my kerchief. She examined my scalp. I felt envy for the long black hair coiled around her ears. She sighed and rested her hand on my naked head. Please, I said, removing her hand. I carefully tied the kerchief back on. I wish your Bubba were here, Mama said. Your Bubba would know what to do. I wish she were here too, Mama, I answered back. I wish you were here too, Tova, but now I don't know if that is such a good idea. You have to be perfect to come to America. I have this bald head, and you have a crooked back. We are not perfect. We are not welcome. These Americans, I told Mama, they don't make any sense. They say they are holding me because I am too contagious to come into their country, but they allow you to visit me. If I am contagious, won't I make you sick? And if I make you sick, won't you make everyone else in America sick? What's the difference if I go to New York or you come here? Either way, if I really am contagious, somebody is going to get sick. I'm wondering how clever these Americans really are. Hush, Rifka, Mama said. Somebody could hear you. I looked around. Even if they did speak Yiddish, no one around us was listening. Why is such a great country like America afraid of a little Jewish girl just because she doesn't have any hair on her head? I said. The truth, Mama, is that they're afraid I will never find a husband, as if I need hair to get married. Maybe we could rub something in to make your hair grow, Mama said. I wish Papa could come. He would have some ideas. It's no good, Mama, I said. Not even Papa can get my hair to grow. I am bald. But Rifka, Mama said. Then she didn't say anything more. What could she say? I am bald. Don't worry, Mama. Mama never was very good with doctoring. Always Papa nursed us through sickness. Are you eating right? Mama wanted to know. The food is very good here. I didn't tell her about all the chocolate and ice cream I ate in Belgium. Dr. Askin came and said hello to Mama. Then he joined Mr. Fargett for the case reviews. I was telling Mama about the market in Antwerp when my little Polish baby began crying. Excuse me, please, Mama, I said. I left Mama sitting on my bed. I didn't want to leave her. I didn't want to lose one precious second with her, but the baby needed me. As soon as I settled the baby down, a fevered woman asked for water. Then there were other chores that needed doing, things I helped the nurses with every day. I kept looking over at Mama, afraid she would disappear. She didn't disappear. She sat and watched. Just like Papa, she said when I finally got back to her. And the way you speak English, Rifka, you've always been good with languages. You were talking before you could walk, but I never imagined you could learn English so quickly. I have been here a year. I hardly speak a word. I could help you, I told Mama, if they allow me to stay. Who is the baby? Mama asked. I took Mama's hand and led her over to the crib. I said, she is Polish. Her mother died of typhus. The baby has the typhus too. See? I showed Mama the rash. I helped take care of her. Ilya, I noticed, kept his distance the whole of Mama's visit. Usually he clung to me like a drop of sap. He was even jealous when I held the baby. Maybe Ilya understood something about Mama. Tova, you would be accepting of my friendship with Ilya. Uncle Avram has Russian friends, non-Jewish friends. But Mama and Papa, they wouldn't like it at all. Mama can be more accepting of the Polish baby, a baby that speaks no language. It could be a Jewish baby after all. There are many Polish Jews, but Ilya is no Jew. He is a Russian peasant, and Mama and Papa have grown to hate everything Russian. I have been thinking, Tova, to turn my back on the part of me that is Russian is impossible. I am Jewish, yes, but I am Russian too. I am both Russian, Jewish, and Russian. And I am also more. I am so much more. When I read the poetry of Pushkin to Ilya and watch his face, I can see the words rocking him the way they do me. We both ache for something we have lost. Yet he aches in a way that I cannot imagine. At least I still have family. In Russia and in America, I have family who love me and want me. Even Saul wants me in his own way. For Ilya, there is no family. In America, there is an uncle who works 3 jobs and wants Ilya not because he loves him, but because of the money Ilya can earn. Not once since I've been here has the uncle come to visit Ilya. Not once. Is this the way family behaves? Poor Ilya. He cannot get back his old life in Russia. Ilya's mother became widowed when he was 2. When she remarried, her new husband did not want Ilya. That is why she sent him to America. Ilya can't go back, at least not to his own people. Maybe you and Hannah would take him in. Could you raise a little Russian boy? No, of course not. You would tell me the wisest thing to do would be to help Ilya prepare for America. He has no choice but to come into America. He's a smart boy. He knows the poetry of Pushkin by heart. I have read to him so often that he now reads passages himself. I tell him, Ilya, you should be learning to read English, not Russian. You are going to be an American. He looks at me with those stormy eyes. Sometimes he looks so lost. We are trapped between 2 worlds, Ilya and I. Ilya wants to go back to Russia, to the only place he has ever known. I want to enter America, yet neither of us can leave this island. Ilya is eating and the circles lessen under his eyes, but still he is thin and frail. I think the doctors and Mr. Fargott are more concerned with his mind, though, than with his health. They think Ilya is a simpleton because he won't take food for himself. I am still putting food on his plate. And he never talks to anyone else. He talks only to me when no one is listening. But he is smart, Tova. Any 7-year-old who can read Pushkin is one clever boy. I must help him see that his life is here, in America, not back in Russia. How do I do that? Tova, you would know. My dear cousin, I miss you like soup misses salt. Shalom, Rifka.